Dyslexic Genius here. What we're going to do is take off this flywheel and work on a few other things and get to this Governor drive gear that's busted right here. And this is just a little bit of tooling, screwdriver sizes that I use. I got one eyeball, so sometimes the old man needs a flashlight to do it. What you're going to need is a magnetic screwdriver, because the last two screws we're going to take out of this are very, very tiny. And what's interesting is the screw on this side screws into this shaft because this shaft is split in the middle of this pulley. The screw on this side screws into the main shaft. And these are really, really tricky, and you really don't want to lose one of these. They're very, very tiny and very unique to an Opera. So if my head gets in the way, and I use this magnetic screwdriver, which barely fits through that hole. So we're going to take the outside one out first, and then I'm going to show you something. There we go. And that's what we're looking for. And that goes over to the corner of the flywheel stuff right here. And now there's one more. So what we're going to do, we'll rotate this around, and we're going to take the spring out. Off the flywheel. Okay.
And we're going to reuse that spring?
No, yeah, I'm going to reuse that spring. Now what I've done is, we had a tensioner spring on this side, okay? And what happens is the tensioner spring pops in through here. And I'll show you once I get it apart. Here it is. These are 20 thousandths in thickness, or 19.0195, this spring. And I know I have to replace it, so I broke them off on the shaft. I just went in there with my needle nose pliers, and they pop real easily. And I'm going to show you the method to my madness. The tensioner spring goes through right here. So you have a little hole here, and then that all goes into place. And that spring I just took off holds the tensioner spring. But these things are the weak link of Opera. So what we're going to do is we're going to come in here. I'm going to start it with a smaller one, then I'll come back in with a magnetic head. And the reason I have it jacked up on wood like I have now on these supports, okay, is if I drop a screw, it's going to come down and hit the paper. So really you're going to use 2 screwdrivers to do this. And luckily the flywheel catches them. There we go. The little baby. Oh yes, we don't want to lose that thing. So now what happens is, you pull this back, the shaft goes in, and this shaft comes off. So this hole right here, that little screw goes in, and it screws into this. Now, this is a 60-degree point, and we have to check that because there's a little point in the end of this right here where my fingernail is, and that point runs into there. Now, right here is where the wire goes through, and I'm going to punch that out later. Because when you look in here, that's where the tensioner wire goes through. So I'll pop the old tensioner wires out. This is a much easier way, because if you start to pull it and it breaks someplace weird on you, so I just break them off because we know we have to replace this. There's two sides to this pulley. This ring, where I took that little ring out, goes this way to the left. Now what you should be able to do is undo this screw. And this is stuck inside. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to mouse milk this. And this screw is another one of those special ones. You can see that little nipple right there at the end of the screw where my screwdriver is. That fits in to the shaft. This is locked up, so we'll get to there later. We know all this is going to go to governor. We put that over to the governor. You see how I set it down on its head? That way I know where it's going. Now you have to keep track of where all the screws are. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take this piece off, which is the governor bearing holder. There's two screws to this. They're both round-headed like that. And that has set pins right here. This aligns everything up when you bolt it together. We know that's governor. So we set it in here with the screws. Now we undo this one. The second one over here that holds that bearing in place. And this one. Now we take the fine feet adjustment out. Okay, so now what we're going to do, we're going to mouse milk this hole and that hole, let those sit overnight. And that's how we get the flywheel off. To get this off, the carriage, we're going to undo these two screws and the whole thing will pop apart. The screw doesn't fit. There's crap in the my angel can show you. I dug all this out of the slot for the screw.
Oh, that's why the screw wouldn't go in the slot?
Yep. And these are things you got to look at. Why didn't the screwdriver go into the slot? Oh, I bet there's dirt in that thing. There's a hole in the middle of that. And when you do this, you want to be very careful of this drive gear. So what we're going to do is we're going to mouse milk this because it's glued up, and we'll mouse milk this. Now, what I'm going to show you is really cool. You see this brown crap right here? That's like a varnish that glues down from the old oils. You see this mess here. They probably tried to grease it, but this stuff seeps in here and it literally locks this apart. There we go. So we'll just give everything a little bit of mouse milk. Now, right before the end, you have a spring right here. See that? There we go. And this all have to be cleaned and polished. Now the carriage just pops out like that. You have a special screw right here. And this is supposed to float like that. That comes out. And that's all there is to it. Whoopsie. And that's how you get everything apart. We still have to work on this. And that'll be in the next video. And that's my tip for the day.